Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom, Mir, Ni Hao, Jai Janendra, Satnam, Buenos dias, Hetchi, Konnichiwa, Sabudikra, Salangwa, Esh, Agape, Akwaba, Dokumen, what up, though? The challenges of being live, online, inline, distraction, interference amidst the connection. So, in the sake of relationship, concentration, and continuation, eventually, I'm just seeing this arrow point down at a camera that is being non-responsive. Create a room by inviting others to broadcast with you. I'm not interested in it. Aha, next. 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 Indeed. Next. Done. There we go. We're telling people. Fantastic. So, amidst the conditions, we are sharing a live joint and recording it, providing update of circumstances in our circle, particularly in this epicenter. Focus continues to be on village. I am in Ohio. Actually, it occurs to me that it's been a long time since I've done a video recording, particularly on Instagram, particularly on the internet web. So a lot happens, but long story short, I go to Denmark seeking political asylum. I arrive in Denmark, my ancestral homeland. I am rejected in Denmark and called an alien. Very understandable. I'm providing them so much love too. It's all in the balance. But long story short, not only an alien, an illegal alien, and then forcefully deported back here to Ohio by some of Denmark's finest. And that is where I sit today, in the Ohio, and in the Cuyahoga area of the Ohio, and continuing to build village. So wherever I am, that's what I do, build village. We've been building village for decades at this point. Me personally, literally in the process of decades of building village. And we are not just building village, but building a network of villages. There are over 20 locations around the earth where we are literally, tangibly, purposefully, methodically building village. Denmark is one of these. Even before I go there this past year, we already are in the process of building village. So me being there is just a continuation of that process. Me being here, we continue to build village in Denmark, and me being here, we continue to build a village here in Ohio. And wherever I may be in the next year, in the next week, or wherever, I build village there too. Now their question emerges, is posed, is confronted, projected. So where's the evidence? Where's the village? Where are the buildings? Where's the proof? So legit question, a very tough question, to be honest. It's a fair question, and it's also an unfair question. But when people talk about building village, that's not just hyperbole. It's not just abstraction and imagination. We need a place to stay. Where's the utilities and everything else like that? True say. Now, people may look at other ventures, particularly commercial ventures, conventional ventures, and say, we see a building there. It wasn't there a year ago. That's evidence. Work done, works and accomplishment, the fruits of the deeds being manifested. So where's yours? Beautiful. Here's the thing. What we do, the methodology of what we do is different. Building a building is building a building for the most part. However, there's a lot that goes into building the building, getting the materials, getting the cooperation, getting the terms of the construction, getting the terms of residence after it's constructed, and additionally, a lot goes into that. The people who do it quick, fast, and in a hurry, or even not even hurry, but just quick, fast, their buildings are out here, the cranes going up in the university circle here, even in the heights, and additionally, where that's evidence of things being done. Those are predominantly commercial endeavors where the people have less of a vested commitment towards residing and cohabiting and cooperating for life in these ventures. So it's comparatively easier to arrange. Now a whole lot goes into it, investment and additionally, and cats are trained to that. But the thing is, when it's constructed and done, they go on to the next one and continue doing it. So it's almost like a factory methodology, and that's not a detraction or denouncement or shade on that methodology, but it's different. The way we do things is significantly based upon principles, and it makes it further involved, further complicated, and takes longer to do. How you doing, brother? All right. It takes longer to do, because if it was easy, everybody be doing it. So it takes longer to do. But the thing is, when it's done, it's nice. Hallelujah. So we're in the process of that, and we do make a lot of strides. We do make a lot of accomplishment and achievements through the year. The fact that the earth is still living is an evidence to that effect, because that's the nature of the work and the nature of the cooperation that we do. And that's not hyperbole, and we know better than anybody else. But if we just going to be facts, that's part of the facts. The well-being, the health that is experienced is the result of the work that we do. And all praise goes to God, all praise goes to the Most High, however we respectively define that. So it's not us doing it, but we are facilitators of that. So the fruits of our work aren't specifically and exclusively limited to the construction of the actual buildings of our villages. It's the environment, it's the experience of peace, pluralism, and prosperity around and within our villages. So that takes a whole lot of doing, and that's what we do. So that's one of the answers in regards to that question about where's the evidence, where's the proof, where's the accomplishments, where are the works, where are the fruits. The other answer is this: we have yet to have that collective discipline as an extending community, because it requires discipline. It requires a collective, prominent discipline, significant discipline, particularly because we are based on principles. It's not just a matter of working hard, playing hard. We don't go by that. It's a matter of living hard. How about that? From the school of rock, you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. How about that, Jack Black? And additionally, so we have some work to do in terms of our collective discipline. And even if one of us or a few of us are like high in one aspect, that don't mean nothing. It's a collective thing. And even if one of us or a few of us are on that high level of discipline, that just means we have to step our game up too if we think we're at that level. So, hey, what's going on? I can say your name if you like me to, but I don't want to be too much of the publicity. But beautiful to see you here, sister. And I'm glad to hear from you and your presence here. So I'm just spitting and giving an update of where things are. I'm in Ohio now. Exactly. Nah, I'm in Ohio. I was forcefully deported. So, but we're still building a village. So I'm giving a spiel along those lines. And but blessings, you see, I got a lot of poetry, and actually that's the next thing I'll share with you on this live joint, is that I've written a lot in this process in being in Denmark for the past few months, for the better part of the past year. I do a lot of writing. Particularly, I was in the prison house right next door to the refugee camp. I was there for over a month, and in isolation unit, cooperatively so. Beautiful kinfolk guards, and additionally in the prison. I actually call the refugee prison refugee graduate school because it's a different vibe, and to be honest, it's not even further hellish per se than the refugee camp. But I was just personally in a that touches my heart, yo. I appreciate that. I'll show you something. I just gave one to somebody earlier today. So people around the earth have it. How about that? We're talking about the world map that I share of the rivers of the earth. And so it's a thing. It's a thing now. Come on. Here we go. It's in my folder, my handy dandy folder right here. Is this the joint you're talking about, is it? Ha-ha! I carry it with me because that's part of my repertoire now. It's one of my the things that I go to. So like I said, I just talked up with a dear brother earlier today, and I shared with him one of these joints, and so it's almost like a society now. We have the Society of the World Earth Maps, and now how about this joint? We got this joint now. It's a certificate. Because we have some additional materials as well, but I plan to explain that in a little bit. But for the moment, like I said, I've written a lot in the past month because in the isolation unit, what you do, write, work. I didn't do too many push-ups, but got some other work done, and very productive, very difficult experience. We work on that. I think if you have my email address, I can send you an email. Send you the document for it. You can get it in the email. It's my email is pfwjo and the number 1. P as in peace, F as in forest, W as in water, J as in jump, and O as in ostrich, and the number 1 at gmail.com. And I can send you a copy. And I plan to make it available on the website so people can access it without having to email me or whatever else. But at the moment, I have yet to get that done. So in Prison House, I did a lot of writing. I have actually 2 books that I write since being in Denmark. One predominantly when I'm in the refugee camp that I already finished, which is called, okay, cool. There we go. Thank you for schooling me on the etiquette for social media communication. Appreciate that. Awakened one. I wrote a book on the refugee experience, and that's called Refugee Champion. And then I wrote another book, I'm in the process of completing it now, called Prison House Blues. So those are writings predominantly since I got thrown out of the refugee camp, literally living in the field outside for a week, and then being dragged to the prison house next door and staying there for over a month. So I have some poetry, some writing, some letters, and some additional stuff from that experience. So I'm let that speak for itself. I got stories for days, as you know, Awakened One, and additionally. So there's that. However, at the same time, I focus on continuing and processing and progressing. So I figure if cats want to hear the stories or whatever, they can read the books, read the poetry, whatever else, and I can chop it up from that as well. But for the moment, I focus on Village. So continuing to focus on that. Now, that being said, we work on organizing, collecting, encouraging a network of ethically inclined multicultural organizations around the earth, and we're already in communication and cooperation with a few, but we want to build a dialogue and some support amongst multicultural groups around the earth to support our different works and our different endeavors. And for us, it involves support in terms of building the villages. So that's what we're doing, and to be honest, I'm actually facing the prospect of moving to another land, actually even China, seeing how the diplomacy here works out. How you doing, brother? All right. I'm all right, thanks, bro. So we're seeing how that works out. But whilst I'm here in Ohio, I'm building in Ohio and connecting with other kinfolk around the earth. So that conversation continues. And let's see what else. We did construct. I know. It's actually closer to you than it is from where I am. It's all the way on the other side of the earth for me, from Ohio. And actually, maybe I appreciate. Well, we're still continuing to build in Denmark as well. We meet and connect with many kinfolk, multicultural kinfolk, native Danes, who very much champion the cause of refugees, champion the cause of immigrants, who are interested in continuing to build. So I mentioned before, we've been building village in Denmark for over 2 decades, and we continue to do that. So we continue with the communication and coordination along those lines. There are a lot of eco villages. There are a lot of communities that are specifically dedicated to the experience of multiculturalism in Denmark. In that conversation, and so we add a lot from what we do on our side of the circle. We add a lot to that conversation, and our Danish kinfolk communicate appreciation appreciation and interest in that. And so we coordinate with that. That's even through communication with kinfolk at the Danish Refugee Council, as well as the Red Cross, and additionally. So we continue with these conversations and communication. So it's not all like a closed book and that's it. It's a continual process, because we build village to village. So that's the nature of what we do. And actually, that's one other thing I'll say too at the moment. One of the things that I'm arranging, and I have to look into the practicality of this, the plausibility and details of this, but I'm actually arranging a weekly village to village call on Thursdays at noon on the Atlantic Standard Time, which is on Central European Time. I think it's about 5 p.m. Central European Time. But basically, it's a matter of having like a half-hour just Zoom call for anybody who wants to come through, chop it up, ask questions, announce things or whatever else, set up meetings to talk within the next month or so or whatever. But having that as a regular Thursday thing where we can gather together and just like catch up and see how things are going, because part of the experience of community is relationship. Obviously, that's very obvious, but it's often overlooked. Relationship is further involved than just knowing people's names or just kicking it and having a nice time, but it's actually having a genuine interest, and that requires communication. And it's nice to communicate here and there and catching up and everything, but it's even further beneficial to regularly communicate and to be able to rely upon it and know that, okay, next week we can catch up. And if not next week, then the week after, God willing. But that's what we're working on establishing, is a weekly joint. So I am without internet access where I'm staying. I'm outside the library right now, catching the Wi-Fi. And so that's the methodology I utilize. Otherwise, I'm in hermit mode, and I'm just staying up in my I call it a tent at this point, but it's the flat where I stay for the past decade, and working on my household, being able to reside with my wife and be settled and comfortable, safe and secure, and we have yet to get to that point yet. So that's part of the motivation on our side for getting this work done. I showed the map, and I appreciate you mentioning that. We have some other materials as well that we share with kinfolk, and we just have a conversation about life, about the earth, about our different backgrounds, about the things that we share together in this life, songs, and storytelling. And just getting to know each other as people, as individuals, but also as peoples of different cultures and different experiences, different walks of life, and cultivating better respect for ourselves, and also encouraging our communities, our respective communities, of having better respect for each other as well, so that it's easier to continue our conversation and cooperation. And so that's helpful when we live together as a village, and to do that and have that regular interaction and experience with each other. So that's where things are. One other thing I'll mention, and I'm getting ready to wrap this up at this point, but one of the other things I mentioned is that for over 2 decades after I graduated from law school, I call out the injustices that occur in the United States. And I might seem very militant. I'm just being honest when I do that. As honest as I can be when cats don't want to call things out. So it might seem like I'm antagonist or whatever else. Not at all. I love everybody. As I always say that. I love everybody, and I do the best to promote the well-being of everybody, even when it's being rather strong-worded. When I call out the malfeasance that is observed amongst kinfolk. So now that being said, amidst those 20 years, I abstain from ever advocating the overthrow, revolution even, or the end of the United States or any other entity up through today, because given my personal experience in this past year, after leaving the United States, seeking asylum in another country, my ancestral homeland, being rejected, and then being forcefully deported back here, that changes the game, and that changes the options, and that changes the prospects. Because before, cats could hear what I had to say and say, oh, as cats often do, this is America, love it or leave it. Okay, fine, I do that. And that's not an option because I've been pulled back. And so, again, like I said, that changes the game, because you can't say that, because there's an element of truth in that proclamation, which can folks here in the U.S. Say through generations. Can't say it at this point because it's not true. It's not accurate. It's not allowed. People are forcefully returned, and so when people can't say that, you got to have something else to say, and there's little else to say. And so if there's little else to say, then things get undone. And because of that, because I do leave, and because I'm forcefully brought back, then I have to say, okay, well, if I'm precluded from traveling any place on this earth and finding some type of safe sanctuary from the U.S. entity, then that's a matter of, well, it seems as though it's time for the U.S. entity to go. And I'm not being antagonistic about it. I say that with love and peace, but at this point, I am advocating, I'm communicating the peaceful dismantling of the United States government and democracy as it is known on this earth today. So, right there, that's liability for treason and all other types of accusations, punishments, and afflictions. So I don't say it lightly, and I don't say it as a priority. I'm not out for that. I'm out for building a village. But up to this point, for the past 20 years, after I graduate from law school and I refuse the bar, and I've been persecuted after I've denounced my citizenship, I can do that. I say, like, okay, you do what you do, I do what I do. I'm not taking acceptability of what's going on here, so I'm just going to step away. I'm going to renounce my citizenship, but I'm not calling for the destruction of the U.S. or anything else. So even that has been violated. So at that point, there's little else other than to say it's time for the U.S. to go. And again, peaceful dismantling. And I'm not. That's not my priority. I'm not. That's not what I'm out to do, as I've repeatedly already said. But that's where things are, and that's where the official position is that I stand upon. So I say that for the record, so that it is in the ether and on the books. And also, again, I abstain from saying that behind closed doors or in open for over 20 years. So, like I said, the game has changed now. So there's that. And again, it's not violent overthrow, it's peaceful dismantling. And the other thing about it is that, one, it's peaceful dismantling. Second, it's actually favorable. One, it's peaceful dismantling. Two, the United States is already in the process of self-destruction. I've communicated that before, and I don't want that. I don't advocate for that. I don't wish that. I'm just testifying to witnessing that. And we all know, well, I shouldn't say we all know, but it is common knowledge, the standard paradigm of human civilization, Earth civilization, the rise and fall, the different stages of that process. And when one is honest and observing what's happening in the United States, but not just in the United States, in the world, one can readily observe the evidence of the decay of this methodology of political cooperation, democracy, which is not actually democracy, but still, it's in the process of self-destruction. And my point, I can go into details and everything else, but I'm just communicating. That's facts. That might be somewhat presumptuous, maybe have an innuendo of prophecy in there to presume future events. But again, what I'll say is this: look at the highest causes of death in the United States, but also within the world system, particularly within democratic and industrialized democratic societies. Suicide, self-destruction, car accidents, vehicular homicide, not vehicular homicide because it's different according to the books, but deaths caused by vehicular accidents, self-destruction, even the physical ailments that are caused by obesity, myself included, heart disease, and additionally are the results of personal behavior, self-destruction, overconsumption, compensating for other experiences of psychological deficiencies, social deficiencies, and additionally insecurities, anxiety, stress, despondency, depression, and additionally, particularly from excessive individualistic extremism. So, yes, excessive extremism. So I don't mean to be light, but that's just what that's the nature of that's the extent of my self-deprecation. So, anyways, that's what things are, and I'm just calling it out for the sake of people's benefit. So, the peaceful dismantling is actually a favorable alternative to the path of self-destruction that the United States and the world system, or the methodology of democracy, is already on. So there are details in terms of one methodology of this peaceful dismantling. It includes, or we refer to it as, the Denmark vestige, which basically involves a deportation of U.S. citizens from the territory claimed by the United States at this moment, and a 2-year reentry ban. That's the terms that Denmark applies to me personally, but in general, when deporting unwanted refugees, because actually that's what U.S. citizens are. So, 2-year ban. Now, other immigrants, people with green cards, people who are non-U.S. citizens, have at least the terms as they exist at the moment are able to stay. Native kinfolk are able to stay. Kinfolk who are U.S. citizens but also enrolled in a native tribal nation are able to stay according to the terms of this arrangement. But otherwise, 2 to 3 year ban from being on U.S. territory. Now, there's another option, which is to claim world citizenship, to renounce one's U.S. citizenship and to claim world citizenship. But that's another process, but that's another option. And then before that, though, because it's a dutiful process, and I might sound like I'm being flippant or whatever, but I'm just communicating this scenario. In this process, there's a 5-year grace period. So it's a matter of making preparations. People are provided leeways. Other governments, other nations are encouraged to provide support for U.S. kinfolk who are traveling to outside the territory, to other lands, to provide hospitality and welcome packages, arrangements, terms, just like kinfolk from other places are provided those type of amenities. So a 5-year grace period to make those type of preparations and plans, and then we build from here. So anyways, now again, that's not my priority. I'm just articulating that for the record, for the books, to the ether and further. And in the meanwhile, we continue to build village here. We construct what I showed before in terms of the World Citizen, the World Citizen Certificate Program, where we share, we confer a certificate on kinfolk who complete 4 days of study, and complete three the transcription of 3 documents: a map of the world rivers, a chart of world languages, 18 languages, the writing systems, alphabets and the equivalents therein, and then also a chart of the calendars, just a mathematical chart of the counting of days for each year. And so in the completion of those items, the 4 days, the 3 sheets, and then also the performance of a song, the singing of a song in one's own language, that qualifies the one that completes the coursework for this certificate program, and the person is conferred with a certificate accordingly. So in the meanwhile, we share this material, and we share this notion of world citizen certificates, to continue to build with ethically inclined multicultural organizations, and additionally. So that's where things stand. I'm gonna leave it at that. And that's much of what I have to share at the moment. There's additional elements involved in the ethically inclined multicultural joint, and it involves a confidential directory of investors that invest within peace and pluralism initiatives. It also involves the organizing of a Panchasilas honor society. So Panchasilas is honesty, sobriety, peace, chastity, and sharing. And this is an initiative, an honor society, like a collective that supports and strengthens and nurtures that experience and that discipline for kinfolk, particularly amongst youth. So I think the connection on the live done froze. So that's pretty much what I'd say anyways. So yeah, it went black. It went blank. So with that, I'm just going to close this out. Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Mir. Jai Jinendra Satnam. Zaijian. Adios. Chi Chaklis. Sayonara, Metta Samadhi, Eshwaso, Salangwa Pyongwa, Agape Ke Irini, Esimpe na Asamuje, Kilig Ofred, my love and peace, happiness and liberation.